first came to Nepal in 2006 and worked with the international aid organisation Médecins Sans Frontières. I worked in an incredibly isolated district in the far west of Nepal. I worked in a small district hospital and I was the only doctor working there at that time. I was posted to a remote area in the far west of the country called Calicut district. The hospital is small with only 15 beds, perched precariously on the side of a steep mountain. The only way to get there at that time was by foot, or as in my case, by helicopter. The hospital was, and still is, to put it mildly, basic. There's no running water and the only electricity then was from a small solar panel. Patients arrive on foot, many of whom travel up to 9 days to reach hospital. Supplies have to be carried up and down the steep terrain on the backs of porters. The same goes for patients when they need access to healthcare. They have to contend with the same mountains. I met a health assistant called Lalit, who was desperate to train to become a doctor, but there was no way he could afford the funding of his own training. I decided that if he could get himself a place at medical school, I would support him for the duration of his training. So that's where the idea of Doctors for Nepal was born. Nepal is culturally rich and steeped in beautiful faces, colours and sounds. But it's also one of the poorest countries in the world. Despite the fact that it's a country of outstanding natural beauty, home to the world's highest and most challenging mountains. But under this picture lies a country lying in abject poverty. Nepal is one of the poorest countries in the world, with a third of the country living below the poverty line. Nepal is still reeling from the aftermath of recent civil war, and there is a significant political unrest which is limiting the country's development. The mountains that are such an attraction to foreign tourists are, in fact, a significant barrier to the development of Nepal. Mountain terrain is steep and dangerous, and the most common form of transportation is still on foot. 80% of the country lives in rural areas, and access to healthcare is severely limited. On a recent trip to Nepal, I visited a district hospital. The patients that I spoke to had travelled by foot for a number of hours, and some of them for up to 9 days.
This is a lady who came from over the mountains, high up in the Himalaya. She came here a month ago. She's been waiting to give birth, and she actually ended up having a life-threatening condition, meaning she needed an emergency caesarean, which she had this morning. But had she not been here, and she'd been in her village, having a baby almost certainly would have died.
The health problems are exacerbated by poor water and sanitation and incredibly basic living conditions. Houses are made of wood and mud, with animals usually housed downstairs and humans up above. Most people still cook over open fires, so respiratory problems are commonly encountered. This is the local source of drinking water for the village around here. It comes from a spring higher up the mountain. This is also the area that the villagers use to go to the toilet. The problem is that in the rainy season, the rain comes and washes the toilet down and mixes it with their drinking water. This can cause huge problems with diarrheal illnesses such as cholera and other communicable diseases. Doctors for Nepal is now a UK registered charity. Our aims are to improve healthcare in rural areas. The idea is to support doctors from rural areas who will go back and serve their own communities. We've set up a scholarship programme with Patan Academy of Health Sciences in Kathmandu. We've built a strong working relationship with the Dean and Vice-Chancellor and meet them regularly to monitor the students' progress. We have 3 medical students, Meena and Nahakul, who are both in their 3rd year, and Prakash, who has just started. Early on in their training, they have patient interaction and they're acutely aware of the health problems facing their country. Our biggest success so far has to be Lalit. In December 2013, I went to Nepal to attend Lalit's graduation ceremony. It was an enormous achievement, both for Lalit and for the charity. It was the real proof that our vision may actually work. I had the honour of attending Lalit's graduation in place of his parents, the proudest moment of our work so far. Lalit has secured himself a position as medical doctor in his own community back in Calicut, and I watched him leave for his first rural job. A moment of intense pride, and news from Lalit is that he's doing really well.
So thank you so much to all the people who have so far donated to our charity and allowed us to get to where we are now. But the journey doesn't end here. We want to continue to grow and to flourish as a charity, so please do continue to support us.